everybody. How are you tonight on this fantastic Tarot Tuesday? It is me, Sarah G, the Witch MD. That's the Master of Divination. I am coming to you live from the office here in lovely East Greenwich, Rhode Island. And guess what, you guys? Not only is it Tarot Tuesday, it's also officially Scorpio season. And I am a Scorpio sun. So here we are. Anyway, tonight's guest is one of my favorites. It's Kim Landini from the Love of Spirits. Hi, Kim. Oh no, we can't hear you. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's see. We're having a hard time with the microphone tonight with Kim, and she's been going in and out. Oh, let's see. Maybe she'll have to leave and come back one more time. We've been doing this for the past 10 minutes or so, trying to get it to go right. I can see her lovely face. Let me see. She might have to try her phone. Let's see. Yes. Let's do that. Only because it's not working. That's hilarious, Mike.
Hey, guys, I was just walking by, so you guys are doing a show. Yeah, I thought Kim should try coming in. There she is. Hold on.
Okay. Oh no!
I shut this one off.
I feel like I'm on in
We good?
stereo. Okay, yeah, that's great. That works. Uh-oh, she's gone again.
No,
Look at it.
Right.
Look at it. Yeah,
I'm here, right?
yeah, you're here. Oh my God, you're here.
Okay.
You are so here. Okay, that's great. Oh, now she's sideways. Okay, so Kim from the Love of Spirit. Yay! I think we got it.
All right.
All right, we got it. Okay, great. Okay, thanks you guys for hanging out with us while we maneuvered through that. So I pulled a card, like it's Tarot Tuesday, as we all know. I pulled a card off camera. It's the Lover's card. That's how we kind of start these little podcasts here. We talk about what card this is, and this is from my favorite deck, the Golden Art Nouveau Tarot. It's the Lover's card. Oh, she's got a Lover's card. What do you feel like? What do you feel about the collective for the Lover's card?
Right now, I feel like there's some big decisions to be made. And so when I'm looking at this card, it's like both people are trying to figure out what to do. And I think that's really happening in real life right now, too, where we have countries not knowing what to do. We have people not knowing what to do. And there's a divine answer, but they have to choose what to be.
Yep.
And
I
that's
love
what
that.
the minute I picked it up showed me that. That's all I could see. It was like, you know, two groups of people, good people, just making bad decisions to try to figure that out.
Right. And I think that it's important to pull out what you just said about that divine kind of guidance or intervention up here, because we see in the Lover's card, we see that angelic presence above, right? So we know that there's a right way, and we know that there's the way that we might not necessarily know that the path is there, but we know that there's something that's leading us in that direction. So I like that you pulled that out. And also there are two good people. And in the Lover's card, usually those two people are a male and a female, and they're not clothed, meaning that in the essence, or like, you know, the most vulnerable part of us, we really are just human beings, right? So what you're saying about the countries and, you know, even decision making at the lowest level of what we are, we're just humans, and we're trying our best to make through what we know how to make through. Sometimes that divine guidance is there to help us, and sometimes we can't necessarily see it.
Yeah, and I think that's what the problem right now is. They're just not able to see it.
Exactly. I agree. But I love that we talked about that. The Lover's card is number 6, which you had said 3, you know, 3, the magic number. I feel like 6 is always a magic number because it's one of the most balanced numbers as well, you know, so it represents the maid, the mother, the crone, the Father, the Spirit, the Father, the Holy Ghost, and, you know, that kind of a thing. So that I feel like having those three, on each side is very balanced in that itself. So hopefully we'll be able to get to some sort of balance as we move forward with whatever is going on with the conflicts overseas.
Exactly. And I think people, even around us, I think people right now are in that constant give and take and not knowing what to do and decisions. And lots of people are coming in for readings lately. And it all comes down to decision making, and it all comes
Hmm.
down to communication. And I keep telling them, you have to talk, you have to communicate. You can't make a good
Right.
decision without it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I have a lot of clients too that are coming in with some big decisions. And some of the podcasts that we've had in the past, especially the last past couple of weeks, we've talked about this shift that's palpable and you can feel it. And it's kind of forcing people in a way to make some of those big choices without having all of your wits about you or being super comfortable with not knowing what the outcome is. So, at the end of it, right, we're all just kind of human beings living this existence of we're just trying to figure out what we need to do, but there are some big choices to have been made. And, I can feel it with my clientele. I'm sure that you can with yours. Not so much in the personal aspect of things, but there are a lot of people who are on this kind of precipice of something bigger without really knowing what's going to be on the other side of that.
Exactly. Exactly. I see it happening all the time, and they don't know whether to change jobs. They don't know whether to
Hmm.
change careers because everybody's looking for this peaceful existence in reality. And they want to leave their, jobs that are doing, 100 miles an hour.
Hmm.
But it's terrible because, they still have to pay the bills. So they're in this constant state of
Hmm.
flux. And,
Yeah.
they'll like, all right, we got to take small steps. We got to get there because you have to make some changes because it's hitting you over the head right now.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not until you do something.
Right. And I think that we're seeing that across the board based on what COVID has done to us. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Oh, she's moving us. Oh, there we go. There we
I'm
go.
moving. Right.
That's okay. We had some technical difficulties. Now we have it down pat, so we're good. But
All
yeah, you
right. Well,
see,
sure.
yeah, that's okay. But we see a lot of this, I feel like, because of what COVID has kind of put forth with us, with, bashing us over the head with, oh, you have to fit in the box. You have to do this, you have to do that. So you see a lot of burnout now on the other side of it. We see it with the education system. We see it with our healthcare system. We see it in the government. We see it all over the place that people are really at their wits' end and they don't have a clear, concise path to follow, and they get confused as to, should I quit this job that has me going 100 miles an hour and in circles, or what am I going to do with my life to pay my bills?
Right. It's been tough. It's been tough trying to get people to understand that they have to actually take a couple steps in the right direction, whether it's school or training or anything to get into a different field, even if they already
Hmm.
have an education. You can't be somewhere unless we actually put some effort into that. And then we could create a you
Hmm.
know, whole new area
Right.
if we
And
study
it's
to be
it's
creative.
right. It's hard for everybody to kind of, navigate through these waters. But, the good thing about what we provide as, healers and psychics and the mediumship that we do provide is that we try to provide clarity. And I know that that is what your business is all about. The business that you have is called the Love of Spirit. So, can you tell me a little bit about what you like to do and how you connect?
My favorite thing is mediumship. That's what started everything. So I'm a Reiki master. I've trained with everybody, around the world for mediumship. I'm an oracle card reader. I do that more than tarot. I'm a hypnotherapist. I think that's about it. Table tipper, but just the base. But my
More than
favorite,
that, I feel like you're also an educator. You also
oh,
teach people
sure.
how to develop their own psychic abilities as well as intuition. And that's kind of like what I've noticed that you've been doing a lot. And I feel like the classes that you do teach within this modality is more of, it's kind of like an ongoing process, which you and I both know that that intuition or that psychic ability or that part of you that is that clairvoyant or however clear you are is like a muscle. The more that we work it, the better we get at understanding and pinpointing what we have to do with it. So tell me a little bit about your psychic development classes.
So I offer beginners, and then I go right into, you know, the advanced classes. So I've had an advanced class that I've had for about 3 years. The same people. Sometimes people will join. You know, over the years, you know, a few people have joined. So we have a solid group of people that have been doing it for years and are doing a really good job. And I try to train them to do it professionally. And I have trained quite a few that now do it professionally and do readings. But I focus on mediumship with them because I really
That,
think that's the nicest, well, the easiest way for me to help somebody heal is through mediumship. It is through helping someone talk to their loved ones that have crossed over, because it's real for them. You know, if the
mm-hmm,
evidence is there, it's real for them, and it makes them feel much more comfortable. That's the only thing that's ever helped me since my father passed. And to find one, it's a difficult thing, you know, to find somebody that can truly bring his essence through. So my whole goal is to bring people's essence through, not just I want as much evidence as I possibly can, but I also want to show the person that I'm reading for what that person felt like emotionally, what their, you know, just their essence. So I
mm-hmm.
try that during the advanced mediumship classes. My intro to psychic development, I just introduce all the tools. You know, we'll play with the psychometry. We might do a little table tipping. We work with pendulums. We work with cards. I teach them how. So that one's fun. And then people will take that a few times. And if they really like it, I'll let them go into the advanced class as well. So, you know, we fill up pretty quick on those.
Mm-hmm.
So those are big hits at the shop. And
Yeah,
then
I
the past,
I can imagine.
yeah, it's fun. Well, I just have so much fun. I live, you know, a mile down the road. So it's just fun. I can just go in and out and do whatever I want. Like next week,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have past life regression. I'm going to do one of those. So yeah, it's just
Yeah,
fun. And the people
yeah,
love it.
yeah. I would say because not only, well, you're validating for a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of your students, you're validating the fact that they can actually do this. Because I know within my practice, when I'm reading somebody that is really open and they're easy to kind of read and communicate with their loved ones, and we are talking about the essence of their loved ones, right? The feelings they had, certain mementos or sentimental values to different things, you know. Lately, I've been getting a lot of flowers. Loved ones are really coming
Oh,
through and giving me flowers, which is really cool. And they're not for me, it's to show whatever person I am dealing with, whatever client I'm dealing with, something that would, you know, have a connotation to their loved one. I just did a gallery event at a place called Hammer and Stain, and I walked around the room, and this grandfather figure kept handing me roses, kept giving me roses, and then dahlias, and then all of these big, huge platter sized flowers. And I was like, what is going on here? And when I was saying this, they were just like looking at me like, oh my God, I have a garden and that's what I grow. So it wasn't for me, it was to validate to that person. But
right.
back to the fact of what you're, you know, what you're doing, you're kind of giving the basis of what people understand their loved ones to really know, and you know that they can kind of tap into that and it not be, you know, something that they've imagined, because you know we all have people who have passed that we really would like to have conversations with, but what you're teaching people is to pick up on those little things and
Yeah.
pick up on the little idiosyncrasies that would validate to another person who their loved one truly is in whatever ways, you know, like this grandmother's drinking tea, this one's crocheting an afghan, what about this guy smoking a pipe, does everybody smoke, you know, like it's kind of like you're just And it's not for us as the psychic or the medium, it's to validate it and to really resonate with the people that we're involved with. And having that connection to a student to be able to do that, it's like you're opening a door, you know? Because a lot
Yeah.
of people are like, well, I dreamed about him, but I'm not sure if that was him coming through. And you're like, absolutely, this is what's going on here, right?
Yeah. And I like it too when I do it with like my advanced mediumship, and I do it with my intro as well, because they like to try mediumship, because mediumship's the one that's the
Uh-oh, we
to
lost her again.
give
Oh,
them
there
my
you go.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, you're
I like
back.
to give them my. Am I back?
Yeah, you're good. Yay, you're
Okay.
good. Go ahead.
I ask them, my family, and on the other side, I give them a name, and I let them, bring everything through that they can. But then I can explain to them what one thing means versus
Right.
another thing. If they're plaid, but it's really not about the shirt, but it's just about that country feeling, I can explain to them so they can figure out their own dictionary. Because, like I tell
Yeah,
them, your dictionary is not my dictionary. So
that's a
you got to.
great phrase.
Yeah, they need to
That makes so
write it.
much sense.
Yeah, and I have a lot of clients now that will keep their own, not dream dictionary, but mediumship dictionary, and what their symbols mean. Some people see balloons for their birthday, or they see present as Christmas, whatever it is. But they write it down, because I explain to them spirit has to come through so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They're down. They don't want to talk for 45 minutes because that's an extreme amount of energy. So
Mm-hmm.
they're bringing their down. We're bringing ours. We're meeting in the middle. And sometimes we're going to tap out, just like we're doing on this. So I
Yeah.
tell them, you get that information quickly, and you have to get those symbols, write them down, and, start using them. So that way you can gather as much as you can in the time that they can handle. So,
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense, having a dictionary of sorts, because again, somebody who may not celebrate birthdays or Christmas or what have you, I mean, they might not have that same connotation to presents or balloons, like you had said. So maybe they think of something else. Maybe they think of their favorite meal, or maybe they, right? And that's how spirit is going to communicate with them specifically, because it would mean something to them. Right?
right.
So, we all have a very varied amount of kind of symbols and ideologies that would make sense to our own loved ones. And then we kind of, as mediums or as people who are using a psychic ability, we change what we know into something that would make sense so that you can kind of attest to the other person. It happens all the time. I will, my own people will send me something, like it happens all the time when it comes to flag. If there has been somebody that has either served or is in the military or anything, like my grandfather will come through right away and hand me a flag, and then that next person who is the intended target, or the person who needs to be kind of open, like it, so he comes through first and he hands me a flag, so I automatically know that this person should be talked about in the sense that they're proud, that they served, that they were a public servant of some kind. So I get that not everybody's going to understand that, because they might not think of a flag as being part of that service aspect. They might just think of it as the 4th of July. But, that's my own vernacular for what this is. So I like the idea of a dictionary. I've never thought about that. That's really cool. And I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, I just tell them we're translators. We're
Yeah,
trying
right?
to interpret what they're saying the best we can, as quick as we can, with as much emotion that we can get
Right.
in there, the messages. But
Right. It's
yeah,
it's funny because I had another person who I'm kind of working with. She just started into the business, and she was asking me some questions. As I'm sure that it happens to you all the time. You have the people who message you and go, "Is this right?" And nothing's wrong. It's always how you interpret it, right? So she
right.
had asked me, "Am I supposed to feel emotion, because I was doing this session and I really just wanted to cry, and I felt embarrassed because I didn't want that person to think that their loved one was sad, but they were evoking an emotion with me to cry." And I said, you're their conduit. Of course they're going to make you cry. If they want the other person to feel that way, they're going to do it to you, do it through you
Yeah.
so that you will have tears in your eyes, or you will talk about something that you might not have any knowledge of, but you will have some sort of emotion, and to let it fly. I've had times where spirit has asked me to hug somebody. And of course, I asked permission, you know, your dad wants me to hug you. Is that okay? And then that's what happens. It's not for me, it's for that person. So, does that happen to you often?
Oh yeah, all the time. But I just feel like I get the bonus hug, because you
Yeah.
can feel the love that goes through us is crazy. I always say
Mhm.
it's like a drug when I'm talking to the other side. It feels so good, you
Mhm.
know? Then of course when we can give that away, oh, it's just the
I
best.
know. I know, and you really feel when you do deliver the right message and for the right purpose, even though it can, like I say, invoke this emotion, especially with the
Oh,
person that you're talking to, it just makes you feel so good that you were able to do that. And that's the purpose of what we do. It's not based on money, it's not based on clout or likes or follows or whatever. It's more based on the fact that we're helping somebody find some spot in their life that brings them peace, especially if it's talking to
right.
a loved one that has passed away.
And even getting them on, going through the stages of grief. Sometimes they're not even at stage 1 yet. And we just
Hmm.
say, great to get them to the point where they can at least confront it so they can start the process and then see them
Hmm.
again in months or another year and just see how they're doing. It's
Right.
awesome to watch them heal, as
Yeah, and
best.
evolve in that healing. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I have also kind of channeled, or I've been speaking to somebody on the other side that the client was like, "Well, I don't want to hear from that person." And I'm
I
like,
mean,
"Well, you don't choose all the time, so I didn't like that person. I don't want to talk to them." And I'm like, "Sorry, I can't choose for you."
yeah.
But
And
either way,
sometimes
it
strong, and it's like they need to hear the message. Spirit's not making it up, they really need to get it out. And
right,
I
right.
said if you just let me say what they want to say, they're gonna let everybody else in,
Yeah.
but they're hanging out here until you listen.
Right, right, and that's really a good point. I do like to say the phrase of psychic bouncer. That usually there's the one person on the other side that you will connect with, and that's usually that your clients, it's like the gatekeeper, right? So they're gonna test you and be like, "All right, are you okay? All right, good. Then we're gonna let everybody else." It's like, when you're at like a show and there's questions, you ask on the microphone, that kind of a thing. It's like, okay, next, you're okay. Okay, next. I call it the psychic bouncer.
It-
They make sure that what you're trying to accomplish isn't inherently bad.
right, right. Yeah, yeah, I've had a murderer, so I could see why the lady was saying it, but I'm like, just I still have to say, just quick, 2 seconds,
Mhm.
listen, so he'll go away.
Yep. Let's just appease him for a minute and then we'll be on our merry journey.
Right. Give you extra time at the end if you need it, but we want.
um, so so about the business, so you do the mediumship readings, you use oracle cards, and table tipping, but I'm sure that you do many other things besides also teach. The healings that you do provide. I know I've heard so many great things about, and I've worked side by side with you, not necessarily with you, but on the side of you as you've been delivering these. And I feel like what your approach is very down to earth, very natural. You're not a big fluff. Pomp and circumstance is a phrase that I've been using a lot lately. But the way that you're delivering messages, and I'm sure that the way that you're also teaching people how to deliver those messages, it's just about clarity. It's just
Mhm.
about connecting that person. It doesn't have to be a big to do. It can just be, you just need a few words of affirmation that your loved ones are with you, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I don't need incense blowing all over and table. I'm here. It's me and you. We got to get this done. We got to get the healing started, and that's how I look at
Hmm.
it. We have a
Yep.
job,
Yep.
and
We've got a job and they know when it's on.
Yeah, exactly.
They know when we punch the clock.
They're right there before you get in the building.
Oh,
So
sometimes they are. I have to say, and I'm sure that you've experienced this too, before going to an event or with an appointment, they'll be like, "Excuse me, I've got this message," and you're like, "Wait a second, I'm driving." Like, I'll be
yeah.
with you in just a minute.
One time I was doing a gallery, and I didn't know how the chairs were set up, so I had no idea what I was doing. So I drew a bunch of chairs in a circle. That was how she ended up setting them up, thank God. But they were coming through me so fast, even in the car, that I was writing down who got what in which part of the room, because they showed me, okay, you're going to start here. This person died of a weird leg disease. I'm like, nice way to start. That's a good one. And then we're going, and it went right around the room. But
Wow.
Spirit had snapped before I walked in. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't put paper in, but it was just like, all right, they got me
Yeah.
going. They knew I was
Yeah.
nervous. And they said, all right, we'll give you a head start.
Yeah. We'll give
And
you a
it's
heads up so you're not flying blind.
right. I hate flying blind, but they
Mm.
always help me out with
They
that.
do. They do. They do. They tell you who to talk to. They tell you what to say. And as long as you are believing in yourself to deliver these messages effectively, then you're going to do just that. And I think that a lot of people starting out in the field that are unsure of if they actually looked at the clock and it said 11:16, which is my birthday, is that really my birthday or am I being analytical and that's not, it's just really 11:16? Is that a message? Is it not? And you get those questions all the time. And when you start to trust your intuition and you trust yourself, then you can pinpoint that and say, that's my birthday. It's not a quinky dink that's up, you know?
Right. Exactly. You have to tell them, you
Mhm.
just have to trust. You have to trust. You have to write it down.
Yeah.
You're going to be wrong. This isn't about ego. And I try to explain that to them all the time. The minute you put your ego in and you try to be, the fortune teller lady that's
Right.
Madam, the minute that happens, Spirit's going to challenge you again.
Yeah.
So you can't put your ego in it. You're just a medium. You're the person delivering the messages. People will appreciate you, give you love, everything you need, but
Hmm.
you can't get your ego in there. You just got to
Right.
say it and be wrong, because sometimes
Right.
people are wrong. We're
Hmm.
interpreting wrong. That's okay. You just
Right.
so
Yeah. And it's sometimes when we do interpret them wrong, if you look at the way that it's delivered or sometimes how it is said, it's not necessarily super wrong. Like you're just,
right.
maybe it's the wrong kind of concept or the wrong color, but they're showing you a book and you think the book is navy blue, but really the book is navy purple or royal purple. And you're like, in my mind, it looks blue. But to the girl or to the person or whatever, it was really purple, that kind of a thing. So, yeah, we are human beings and we do mess up, but mostly when we circle back to it and we really look at it, it goes the same with card readings. You can interpret this lover's card as to say one thing, but really, you're getting it wrong because it's not necessarily the one thing that you're thinking of. It's the thing that they were
Right.
going to tell you about 2 seconds after. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. So we are just, I like to say we're just dumb humans and we just try to kind of figure out where we fall in. And using the word medium is really kind of interesting because we are in the middle.
Yeah.
We're not, we're fully human, but we're not all there, and we're not all there on the other side of the plane. So we're in the middle. So we're the medium. I like to say this joke when people say, "Oh, you're a medium." I go, "Well, I'm more of a large nowadays," and people just look at me blankly, and I'm like, "Ah, it's a psychic joke.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it." But anyway, it's just, we're kind of in the middle. We're the middleman. We're the messenger. We're the conduit. We're the channeler, whatever you want to look at. We don't always get the interpretations right. And to trust yourself that eventually those words are going to come out in the way that they need to. That's more important than making sure that you're right due to ego or due to
Right.
what your perception is of yourself.
Right. Because you'll never grow as a medium if
Mm-mm.
you hold back, you know, because when you'll get an email, you know, I'm sure you've had so many emails in the past where they'll be like, oh my God, you said this and it didn't make sense, but it makes so much sense now. And I try to explain to them, remember, we're interpreting as much as we can. So you're just going to have to keep sticking with it. And that's why I think people that are training to become mediums should train for a while. And training with the same people is great, because it builds your self-esteem. It gives you time to create your dictionary. It gives you time to get your own style of how you present your information and how you do a reading. And I think that the people that are really going to be good are willing to put the time in. So
Right.
I love my advanced class because they put that time in and they're great.
That's great, because you can really work with them and really help them hone their skills, as opposed to being out in the wild and saying the wrong thing to the wrong person and ruining their day, you know, because we have the ability to deliver a message, but sometimes they're not in the right place for that grief or that moment or what have you, right? I call that Teresa Caputoing somebody. When you hear this, you hear spirit say, go talk to that person, and you're at the grocery store and you're like, I'm not talking to that person. One time I went for a job interview, and obviously was not a job interview in regards to anything psychic. I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the person interviewing me, and her grandmother pops in and she's going, tell her I'm here. And I'm like, I cannot do that right now. You know, I'm like, I'm not the time or the place. You know, and she's going, tell her I'm here. And she keeps giving me these things to show her. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So you never know. But I call that Teresa Caputoing somebody, because you know how that show is, that she's getting ice cream and she's talking to the girl scooping her ice cream about her grandfather and his horse, and the girl's crying. I don't want to do that. You know, so we have to kind of pick and choose where that forum should be of you know, connecting with spirit. And I think that having a class, having a safe place to kind of exercise that muscle a little bit is really important, and not just kind of go out in the wild and start pinpointing people.
Oh my God. Funny when people do that. I love it.
Right. It's so funny to me.
I love
So what
that.
other
Go ahead.
So what other classes do you like to teach? Because I know that's one of the most popular ones that you're part of.
Yeah, that one. I love doing the past life regressions. I teach Reiki. So I just taught Reiki. That one next month. I always do a ladies' night once a month too, where we'll teach them how to do some craft, and then they get a reading from me too. So it's like a duo.
Wow.
So my friend, once a month. I love doing that. I love teaching the oracle cards. I do tea leaf reading classes. Those
See,
are fun.
I told you there was more. I knew there was more.
I do. Oh, what else do I teach? I teach so many things. You know, meditations, or your angels, all of them. I switch it up a lot.
Yeah, you do. And I feel like I see that there's something new all the time. But I love the idea of a ladies' night, and I love the idea of getting together and just kind of getting to know the people that are like-minded in your community. Now, Kim, do you only teach at Touch of Magic? And I should have specified, Kim does teach at a Touch of Magic in Uxbridge, Massachusetts. We didn't say that in the beginning. Due to technical difficulties, we're a little behind, but
I teach 6th grade, so I do teach those classes. What else do I teach? I only teach there. I will when people ask, like sometimes, or I'll go say clear houses, things like that. Teaching classes, I pretty much saved for Debs. I was trying to do some online for a while during the pandemic, but then people really like to be in person. So it's just that I have a lot of business right there.
Yeah, so and I mean, it's a mile away from your house, so why not?
Right. But I'm always open to it because I love to teach different things and do different things. I don't like to do the same thing all the time.
No.
You know, that
yeah, you need a little variety. I understand. but there's so many things that you do that are outside of, but yet very pertinent to having that psychic ability, right? Because you're a wildlife rescuer. Tell me a
I
little bit about that. How did you get into that?
So before my dad got sick about 15 years ago, I think it was, I just, as a kid, I was always picking up animals that needed help and bringing them home. So it was just my family let me. They were like, okay, here she is with another bird. But
Yep.
my mom had taught me how to fix the first one. She's a teacher too. And so anyway, I said, you know what? I'm just going to take this course, take this permit test. Well, the permit test ended up being like 800 pages of stuff to memorize. So I was like, oh my God. So I got it. I did it. And then I wanted to start right away, but my dad got sick and he's like, Kim,
Hmm.
you can't be touching the wildlife. So I was like, all right, you're right. So I waited probably 4 or 5 years. And then after he passed, my mother and I started rescuing bunnies. So my mom's the bunny whisperer. So because she lives next door to the
Okay.
house next. So we've rescued hundreds of bunnies. So that's what we do. And now, like I said, I love new things. So now I've moved on to squirrels. So people make
Oh,
fun of me for, but I
I love
freaking
it.
love. They're
They're
so
so
cute.
cute.
They are so cute. And so then I raise them in the house, obviously, and bottle feed them, do the whole thing, and they become like my little babies. But they take a lot longer than a bunny. A bunny, you only have them for like 5-6 weeks, but the
Yep.
squirrels, like 12 weeks of being, they stay in the nest for like 8 weeks in the
Wow.
wild. So they don't even really start climbing around till like 6 or 7 weeks, and then that's when they get fun. And then about
Oh,
12 weeks on the deck, and I release I open the cage and then put them back in and back
yep.
and forth. They're ready, and they just keep coming back. So
That's so funny. So, do you think here's a hypothetical, right? Do you
yeah,
think that by having the experience, especially with connecting with energies and spirit and things of that nature, when it comes to forces that we cannot explain per se, right? Do you think that
yep,
that has an ability or an affection or however an affliction or however you want to say it um, for rescuing wildlife? Because again, they're not tame creatures. They're not they're not docile. They're wild animals, and sometimes you just have to have the patience and kind of feed off of their energy and have that reciprocation. Do you feel like it really kind of is corresponding?
oh my God, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
They just, once you have them, they're like your person, and you can tell what's going on. Unfortunately, I can tell immediately if they're going to make it or not. So sometimes
Oh.
say, even if we're hospice, Kim, we're doing the right thing. And I'm like, I know. Because people
Oh.
take the bunnies or the squirrels or the raccoons that they see because they're not really orphaned a lot of times. And then they keep them in their house for 2 or 3 days with nothing to eat or drink. And then they call me. And it's like,
Yeah.
so I was had to do the, I can give the syringes to give them fluids and all that type of stuff. And we
Right.
do a lot. And I have a nice network of people that we can call each other, ask each other questions. What do you do in this situation? What meds would you give?
Mhm.
It's the wildlife rehab community is
Mhm.
pretty special because everybody really wants to support one another.
Mhm.
And you go on vacation, you're like, can you take this woodchuck? He'll take the
I mean, you never really thought about having a conversation about taking a woodchuck. But that
right.
is something that is so cool. And I love the fact that it really kind of correlates to what you do on the other side. Because as a healer and as somebody who is working with energy and having something like a wild animal, although it is a very cute wild animal, it still could be very detrimental to your health and it could do something to, you know what I mean? Like, and you want to make sure that you're using the utmost care. So having that ability to use your psychic kind of feeling or your energetic flow makes sense. So I
Right.
bet you do Reiki on the animals.
I do when I'm holding them, like the squirrels love to sit right here. The babies
Yeah.
love this. I have two on me at once, and they love the Reiki. But even like I had to pick up a raccoon, and I never wanted to do raccoons because of rabies, and I don't have my
Mm-hmm.
rabies. And insurance doesn't cover rabies shots unless you get bit. Go figure. So
Yes.
I picked up the raccoon anyway, and I did. I did Reiki the whole time I was holding it on the way
Mm-hmm.
lap, and it did calm down. I mean, it didn't hiss at me. It didn't anything, and I wasn't sure how to triage
Right.
a raccoon because I hadn't done it. So I wanted to go to a place where they could show me how, and that whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. So yeah, I went and got all my rabies shots because they sneezed on
Well,
me.
I got to be on the safe side just in case you get another call for another bandit.
Well,
Another.
that said, they're like, now you can do this. You have no.
Oh, I just think it's so cool because it really, we're dealing with human beings with complex emotions and, who have lost loved ones or who are looking for clarity or even looking to develop themselves, right? And so we humans, like I say, have that complex ability to emote and feel and have anger and jealousy and hatred and ego and everything else, right? And these poor little creatures don't. They just have instinct. And that's what essentially what you're treating them with their instinct. You're nurturing them, you're caring for them, you're feeding them, you're giving them a safe, warm place. And they don't know that about you until you actually kind of show your true form of energetic healing. You know what I mean? I just think that's so interesting that it really does correlate and that it makes sense that it's just another thing that, yep, of course she does. Of course she rescues bunnies and raccoons and especially squirrels. Of course she does. It just makes so much sense.
They're
It's funny because I feel, go ahead.
It's
Go
just
ahead.
so peaceful to sit on the deck and just see little squirrels running by.
Yeah. Yep.
Just the
I was gonna,
bunnies.
yeah. I was just going to say that a lot of people in our world really not only do they do something, a lot of cases, they do something that is what we do, but they also do something creative or they do something in a healing modality that's non-descript or non-psychic in nature, yet it is, it's just so funny because there's so many of us that do, oh yeah, I make that, or yeah, I do that, or oh yeah, I rescue those. And you're like, yeah, it just makes so much sense that of course we're out there in the world creating and loving and showing, people what energy looks like through what we're doing, besides the actual readings and besides the mediumship.
Yeah, I think it helps your mediumship. I think it helps the readings. I think all that interaction with nature, I think it
Hmm.
strengthens it so much.
Yeah,
Just
I
being,
agree with that.
yeah,
I
I
agree.
couldn't even
I
dead tree in my backyard. I'm like, it's dead, but something lives in it. Like something in me said, there's something in that tree. We are not cutting down a dead tree. It can go through my roof. I don't care.
We have insurance. Yeah, I think that it's really cool that you have this grander scale of where you are in the world because that's also goes hand in hand with being, especially developing your own psychic abilities and your own mediumship is that we're just one small drop in the bucket, and I do say that for other readers too. My clients will come to me and be like, well, I was at a psychic fair and I saw another reader and like they're cheating on me. And I'll be like, I don't care. I'm glad you saw somebody else. I'm glad you talked to somebody else because one small person, one drop in the bucket isn't necessarily the only thing you need. You need more than that. So you need
Exactly.
other perspectives, right? I mean, it's great if they do, and if they don't, whatever. But, it's not, there's enough energy and then there's enough readers and the mediums to go around that you can get what you need from whatever source you need to.
Exactly. I tell the people in my class, I said, don't just take classes with me. Go take them with, other people too. So you get different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Reading, there are so many of us out there that are good enough to like help them, they have to,
Mm-hmm.
because I have to create your own belief system. And if you're only using one teacher, you're not creating your own belief system. You're taking on
Yep.
theirs. So you need to expand
Right.
and
And I
stay
mean,
with
it
me, of
goes
course.
right, right. But it goes hand in hand with the idea of school in general, right? Like every grade and every step, we have a different teacher. And it's because we need a whole bunch of different perspectives as we grow within a social environment. And it should go hand in hand with teachers in a psychic kind of forum as well. I only
Yeah.
teach tarot. I mean,
Oh,
I have
okay.
offered to teach table tipping. I've offered to do it, but to be perfectly honest with you, I like teaching tarot. I am good at what I do. I'm really proficient in what that I do. I feel like I connect well, but I'm not going to try to teach something that, is like outside of my scope. So I feel like what you are doing by showing all of these different things and saying, go try something else. If they come
Right.
back to you, that's awesome. But if they don't, then they're on their journey. But I think it's great that you do offer a big wide array of different things that you do, you know?
Yeah. I try to do is, I always ask them, what do you want to learn about next? Tell me and I'll figure it out. And then we can learn together. With my
Yep.
advanced classes, whatever they want to do. I said, why don't you do tipping? We've never done table tipping. And I love going to table tipping. I don't like being the person in charge. But I
Really?
said, I'll go
Huh.
grab my table.
How funny. I would think that as a medium, you would, and being so, that you are very in tune to what you need, that you would like to be the channeler or you would like to be in control of it, in charge of it.
I can do it with another person, but if it's just me, the table won't move. I have
Yeah.
my guard not let the table move.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Yep.
Dad, just let it move.
Come
So
on.
I had to walk away. I gave them the table. I got them all set up a couple weeks ago on the porch. And then I said, now I have to go over here because that
Mhm.
thing's not going to move until I'm gone. And it didn't.
Right.
It moved over. They did a great
Yep.
job.
Yep. I haven't done table tipping in a while. The last time that I practiced, I also have a certificate to teach it, but the last time that I really practiced and used it was here in my office with Kathy Lynn. She had never really
Oh,
done it before, and so we did it together, and she was like, "This is awesome." So, it's cool that you do that too. We should probably try to do it sometime.
that would be
But right. But table tipping, for those of you who are watching, are just a three, it's called a pedestal table. So it's a table with three legs, and we use it to pretty much be that conduit or that modality that we use to channel. So much like a spirit board or a pendulum, or we're using our energy to kind of make it move in a certain way, whether or not that we actually push it or not, it's kind of, inherently that the table is giving us messages. Right?
and it's so fun.
It's so fun because the table dances, the table hugs, the table
Oh, great.
laughs, right? The
Yep.
table, I've seen it hug many, many people. It's so cool because it's just they need it at that moment. And the table just leans back and, yep, okay. But I haven't done it in a while. I
It's
should
an
probably
awesome.
do it. Yeah.
I know. I
You know what else?
did this before, so.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about, I know that we kind of mentioned this when we were kind of chatting earlier on Messenger, but what do you feel about, people say about this time frame? Because today is, the second day in Scorpio season. It started yesterday on the 22nd. Today's the 23rd. So is it? Today's the 23rd, 24th. So it's the second day. Sorry about that, folks. But what day is it? I don't even know. But anyway, so we're just starting Scorpio season, and a lot of people have been saying for the whole month of October that the veil is very thin. Now, as a medium and as somebody who teaches psychic development and mediumship classes, tell me what your thoughts are on that.
I think the veil is always pretty thin. I
Mhm.
really do. I've never felt like a thick block. So I think people a lot of times they'll go, oh, the veil is thin because it gives them an opportunity to believe that they can do it at that point. Like, oh, I
Mhm.
have a boost right now. And it's like, yeah, you do. Whatever it takes to get your to get your, not stamina, but just belief system, believe that you can do it. But I
Right.
do, it is obviously thinner, but
Right.
I never tell the difference when
Right. And
people.
I feel like I'm on board with that because I'm in the same boat of I can do exactly what I'm doing now in July, as opposed to just because we're so close, we're a week away from Samhain. So we're a week away from Halloween. And I can do the same thing in, another time frame. It doesn't necessarily matter for me. But the veil
Right.
is thin, I think, is like a phrase that a lot of people like to use at this moment in this time frame, only because we are close to, um, you know, Day of the Dead, and the fact that we are paying respects to those that have
Right.
passed away, in a cultural sense as well as a spiritual sense. Doesn't mean that they don't come through in August. It just means that, you know, it's more of a widespread thing that we're offering our honor to them, and we're paying homage to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they know it, so of course they're going to come because
Yeah,
their families at this time saying, "Oh, remember, remember," and recognizing them, and so they're going to be closer. The energies are going to be closer for sure. But it would, yeah, if they were still thinking about them in October, in January, they're going to get the same feeling.
exactly. I feel like that's the great way to put it. If you're thinking about them, they're gonna come through, right? And
Right.
finding those little signs that a lot of people will kind of poo-poo and say that they don't exist, that's when you start to get the clarity that you're not necessarily alone, that your loved ones are still with you. It's not just the cardinals and the rainbows and the this and the that and the dimes or the pennies, or it's so much more than that if you collectively put it all together. And I feel like that if that's what you're teaching your psychic development class, to kind of put every little piece together, because it does mean something. It's not
Yep.
just one thing. And it's happened to me where there's been clients that come through and sit in my chair and talk to me, and their loved one will come through and hand me a cardinal. And then the next time they come, they're handing me a pie. And then the next time, well, it's the same loved one. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Or they're singing a song. It's not just one thing, that it is that remembrance of every time you see a cardinal, that's when you think about your loved one. But it's so much more than just that one thing.
Oh, it drives me crazy when people are just waiting for a cardinal and all day long, all night. And I'm like, listen, they're trying to get in touch with you in so many ways. Did you see that frame fall over? That they took some effort to do that. Give them some credit.
I know, right? Did you hear the blue jay screaming at you? I think that was for you, not for me. Did you see the crows fly? That wasn't for me. So as much as you want a cardinal to come through, there's so much more. It's funny. I look at the clock and I see my birthday all the time, and I'm like, I'm with you. I get you. And I tell people a lot of the times too, when they say, I feel like I don't see the signs, or I feel like I don't experience this, or I actually didn't I helped out as an assistant at the Conjuring House on a ghost investigation.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, I'm going to do it again this weekend. I was asked to come back on Friday and Saturday nights for just this weekend coming up. But I kind of explained to the people, because they're lay people. They're not in a psychic development class. They're not necessarily looking to develop their abilities in any stretch of the imagination. So what I did say was, these idiosyncrasies, right? They want to change your normal in order for you to pay attention, right? So it's changing your normalcy. So if you
Yeah.
feel cold, if you feel like you're touched, if you feel like your hair is pulled, if you feel like you get tripped or pushed, or if you look at your watch and it's a certain time, they're trying to change your normalcy, and that's how they're getting your attention. And I feel like that goes hand in hand with what we said about the signs are all over the place. They just want you to look and change your normal configuration of going in this direction. They want to say, push that frame over, or, see a shadow in the mirror, or flick the light a couple times, and slam the cupboard door, or whatever it is. They want to change your normalcy and wake you up like an alarm, right? So
Right.
I feel like that's really important, and to kind of say to the viewers out there, is that when you are feeling any sort of change in your normalcy, you think about a song and it comes on, or anything, like they're trying to get your attention. They're trying to give you affirmation that you're not alone, that they're right there with you, and they're spending the energy that they have to try to do that.
Yeah, I tell them all the time, and I say, the minute you see something weird like that happen, try to figure out, what was I just thinking about? Because they're probably trying to give you some advice on that, and you know what they would, most of the time. So go
Right.
with what Grace says. If her picture's falling off, just definitely just be aware. You just have to be
Right.
aware.
Right.
And
Exactly.
for us, because we're medium, so we're living in both worlds. And so for us to be aware in the present time sometimes is hard even.
Yeah, I agree. Walking into a place that has a lot of energy, even like a restaurant sometimes, or an event of some kind. Sometimes you really have to center yourself and ground yourself, not only as a medium, but also as somebody who's dealing with energy in general. And you kind of have to say, okay, here I go, I'm here. And so that you can kind of effectively give messages. I know that Touch of Magic, where you teach your classes, has a lot of fairs and stuff, and they do have a lot of energy. And plus, that area, or the location, the actual location, has a lot of activity on it. So um, I remember being up in I think it's your office now. Is it your office upstairs now? Do you have an office up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Further. Yeah.
Across from Jamie's office?
Yep.
Okay. I remember being in that room one time, and I looked out the window and I could see all the stuff that was happening. And I was like, wow, this is a crazy place.
Yeah.
And I felt that childlike energy upstairs, the kids in if it was a nursery or whatever it was up there in your office, there's a lot of activity up there. It's
There's
just changing your
camera.
right. Yep. It's just changing your normalcy, right? So that's how we know that we're validating the fact that we don't just go nowhere. When we pass away, our energy still remains, right? And that's what we're kind of counting on.
Yeah, we had a fun one the other day. On Saturday, I was teaching something, I don't remember what, but somebody wanted to use my office to do readings. I said, yeah, go ahead. And she's like, Kim, could you please ask them if tell them that you're giving me permission, because last time the door kept flying open, and I'm like, no, they like you then. And I said, I love it when it opens, because it does it to me. So I just lock it back up, and then they unlock.
And then they unlock it, and then they open it again. You're like, okay, I guess I'm all right, because they're changing your energy. They're changing the normalcy, right? Oh my God. It's so funny. So we can find you at Touch of Magic. I did list, for those of you who are looking for Kim, I did list her The Love of Spirit Facebook page on my page, but I can obviously share that again when we repost the video. But you can find Kim at A Touch of Magic. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much, Mike. So there's Kim's info for if you'd like to book a reading or learn more about her classes. Kim, I want to thank you for being on with me today, even though we had some technical stuff, but it was really interesting. I know, not a big deal at all. Not a big deal. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you guys out there for listening to us as we chatted away about all good things in the world right now. The veil is thin, but it's always been thin. So just connect the way that you need to. And I will see you next Tuesday. Thanks so much for